Good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to welcome you all for the webinar this afternoon on enhancing manufacturing capacity utilization through cloud-based technology platform. Our partner for today's event is Capximize. We have Mr. Avinash Bapat, the co-founder of Capximize, with us today. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to other speakers for the session, Mr. Gaurav Gogia, Principal Associate, United IPR, and Mr. Pradeep Kadre, Managing Director, SciTech Specialities at SciTech Healthcare Private Limited. Before we begin with the formal session, I would request all the participants to keep yourselves on mute. Please use the chat box for raising any questions that you may have, and we would of course take them up during the relevant Q&A session later on. Moving on, I would now hand over to Sanaya to introduce our speakers and take the session forward. Over to you, Sanaya.
Yes. Thank you, Arushi. Thank you for the introductory remarks. Now I would like to take this session ahead and invite Mr. Avinash Bapat, who is the co-founder of Capximize India, for his introductory remarks and a brief presentation. I would just take a minute to introduce Mr. Bapat to all our participants who have joined in today for our session. Mr. Bapat is a concept creator of Capximize India. He has an experience of over 40 years in manufacturing sector. He's also renowned in the financial services industry for various financial structures. He is also associated with pharmaceutical, fine chemicals, consumer products, and renewable energy. So over to you, Mr. Bapat.
Thank you, Sanaya. Thank you so much for the introduction and welcome everybody to this session. I think primarily I'll just take, before you start giving us the slide presentation, Sanaya, if we can open the first slide, I just want to tell you that the whole principle of Capximize is primarily collaborate, coexist, and co-elevate. So that's the primary principle as far as the foundation of Capximize is concerned, which talks about, can we just get to the presentation, Sania, please?
Yes, are you able to see a screen?
Yeah, I'm able to see a screen. So Capximize is an online platform which has been created to make Indian manufacturing capacities virtual for the world using the proprietary algorithm to discover and recommend matching capacity requirement. Really critical part is our study that we have done of what is manufacturing capacity. So convenience in finding out manufacturing partner is the key. The information architecture details the process in terms of capacities like the machineries, processes, etc., capabilities, compliances, and everything. Of course, the benefit is the conservation of capital and time, and also going forward, the carbon footprint reduction. Next. I think what I want to convey in that slide once it comes on the screen, but in the meanwhile, I think we have compared the capacity utilization of manufacturing facilities worldwide. And really, if you see here on the screen, that the countries, even the developing countries like Brazil, Vietnam, and others are using capacities nearly to the tune of 82%. Whereas, of course, Japan on a point basis is already at around 94%, whereas India right now is at 60%. And the estimated amount of utilizing the capacity further shows nearly a 2% growth in the utilization will yield approximately $8 billion worth of value of goods produced. So we have a long run and we can definitely do a lot for the India's manufacturing sector by using the global players to use the capacity. Next. The next slide, which talks about the genesis. If we check the genesis, really, what are the benefits or what is it that the platform can offer to everybody? So if you take the next slide, Sania. So the challenges that are faced versus the solution that can be offered by the platform. So if we can go to the next slide. The genesis are here. Yeah, we are there. So what we call in this platform is the one side of the segment is the Capximizer, that is the capacity provider, and the other side is the Capximize, which is the capacity seeker. So capacity provider, primarily today what is happening anywhere in the world, if you are utilizing your unoptimized utilization of capacity is one of the challenge that is faced by many people, many countries. Global visibility is another area. High cost of production due to underutilization is the next, and the resultant of that is the erosion of ROI. And realistically, what the platform provides is that it offers you new and additional business opportunities. It gives you a global visibility, of course, with the enhanced use of capacity. It gives you the cost competitiveness and improve the returns on your invested capital. Similarly, for a Capximize situated anywhere in the world, I think the biggest challenge they have is information available on manufacturing capacities. And what this platform has done is invested a lot of time and energy in understanding and defining the manufacturing capacity and the surpluses. So the capacity seeker sitting anywhere, he wants to look at the capital conservation, lead time conservation, and now the sourcing security post-COVID, because the dependence on single source becomes a challenge. Whereas the solutions are offered by the platform, which will offer them a pan-India manufacturing options and definitely improve cost of production. How it has been achieved is through a proprietary algorithm-based technology platform, and you get what is it available is the real-time capacity options for you to make the sourcing more secure and more easy. Next. Next is regarding our key point. The lag is there in the slide movement, but Sanya, if you can go to the next, which is a sector-centric but use-agnostic slide. Yeah. So primarily what is happening is that many a times people in the businesses, they look for additional business in the own sector or the subsector that they are in. Whereas we are not a product company. We are a company and the platform which is offering you manufacturing capacities. And manufacturing capacities can be sector agnostic, in the sense that you might be into pharma, you might have reaction capacity, you might have filtration capacity. That capacities might be possible to be used by multiple sectors rather than seeing the business opportunity only in your same sector. So I think here is the main important point or a distinction feature of this platform vis-a-vis many others, because we are not restricted to product. We are looking at manufacturing capacity and the surplus manufacturing capacity. Like here, you can see in case of, say, auto components and you're into a business of casting, it is not necessary that you have to see a business opportunity only in auto component. The platform can offer that capacity in casting to multiple industries. And that's the beauty of this platform, that we can give you additional business opportunities in multiple sectors and not limited to your sector. Going forward, where we are, we have already launched ourselves. We have already have the members and the corporates who have registered with us, who have uploaded their capacity details. We have Capximizes who are looking for capacity on a pan-India basis, the manufacturing capacity. Happy to share that more than 65% of our registered members have offered manufacturing capacity details, and 35% of the members are seeking pan-India manufacturing options. Just to give you a feel that the members who have offered capacities for surplus capacities availability are also in the range of around 1.2 billion euro or approximately 10,000 crore INR turnover based companies. So it's not a small segment, it's a large segment. We are already into it. We are already doing transactions which are becoming organic in multiple sectors like textile, pharma, auto components, and electronics, where the organic transactions are right now going on. And that's where we are as far as today is concerned. And next is really quickly taking forward, because Sanya had given us 5 minutes time, so I want to be very, very brief. So taking forward that how really it works. It works is basically on the slide, it will show you that as far as Capximizers are concerned, they just need to register, upload their capacity details, and the platform using the proprietary algorithm will keep their information ready for the Capximizes who are coming onto the platform seeking the pan-India manufacturing capacity. They will be giving a recommendation for right partnership. So I again say that the motto is collaborate, coexist, and co-elevate your ROIs. So the UI UX also has been designed in such a way that it's very, very user friendly. It doesn't take you too long a time, even by way of sector, subsector, processes, but most of the information is parameterized. So it takes hardly any time for you to upload your details. And what you get is a pan-India options of manufacturing capacity options. The features of the platform, if I take the next slide, so the features of the platform also very clearly show that our criteria has been security, our criteria has been confidentiality, our criteria has been speed, our criteria has been UI UX, and the security features all the time have encrypted database, firewall, tenant-based design, OTP validation, plus every time when you enter the platform, you get your OTP confirmation requirement to your mobile phones as well as on your email. And the proprietary algorithm-based recommendations will help you. We are also using the AI. We are in the process of implementing ML. So with the AI, you will be in a position to get a quicker and a faster recommendations, and which are available 24/7 to you. The uptime is 24/7, being a cloud-based platform and the cloud-based infrastructure. So the platform features are here. And the next slide, which is my last slide for a quick presentation, and that's the ecosystem participants. What happens is that all the time, if you want a transaction to get done on a platform, you need ecosystem partners, and we have designed the ecosystem partner, which includes everybody, like the chambers of commerces, the manufacturing associations, the legal firms, the banking sector, the logistic companies, so due diligence agencies, all of them are empaneled on the platform. So it is much easier for you to have a transaction concluded, which is in effect a long-term manufacturing capacity underwriting. So realistically, what we are offering it to the Indian manufacturing sector is the visibility and additional business, and what we are offering to the Capximizees, whether they are domestic or global players, the ease of information, convenience, reliable knowledge-based information creation, and at the same time, the proprietary algorithm giving you a real-time pan-India manufacturing options. So that's the whole genesis of Capximize. And I would genuinely thank the Indo-French Chamber to give us this opportunity to present ourselves to the audience here. And I would leave it for Sania to take it forward for her comments and the next part of the session.
Thank you, Mr. Bapat. Thank you for your remarks and presentation. We will now move on to the panel discussion. We have an esteemed panel with us today. And before we begin this formal session, kindly allow me a minute to introduce all our speakers to the panel. First, we have Mr. Pradeep Gadre. He's the Managing Director in Skytech Specialities and Skytech Healthcare Private Limited. He's also a president of Cypex Inc., which is based out of USA. Thank you, Mr. Pradeep, to joining us for this session. The second speaker we have is Mr. Gaurav Gogia, who is presently a principal associate at United IPR with a post-qualification experience of over a decade. He has been responsible for advising, drafting, and negotiating with internal and external agencies globally. This panel discussion will be moderated by Mr. Avinash Bapat itself. And now we will begin with this session. Over to you. Back to you, Mr. Avinash Bapat. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sania. And thank you very much, both Mr. Pradeep and Gaurav, for joining in. Just for the general reference, the Pradeep right now is sitting in the West Coast of the United States enjoying this discussion. So thank you very much, Ms. Gadre. And to start with, I think, Mr. Gadre, for the benefit of everybody around here, just wanted to understand from you that what are your views in terms of growth outlook for pharma sector, both Indian and global market. Particularly, it has become very relevant post the pandemic. And what are your views in terms of the sector to begin with before we move to other questions?
Thank you, Avinash. Thanks for the chance to express myself. And thanks to Indo-French Chamber also for inviting me for this seminar. Now, to be specific, Avinash, Indian pharma sector has moved from a importing sector to exporting sector during the importing used to be up to the period of 1970 to 80s, whereas from 80 onwards till today, Indian pharma sector has moved so very rapidly that Indian pharma sector has become third largest exporter from India, only after IT and the diamond jewelry sector. Now, if I can be allowed to have the slides, then it will be easier for me to even present the exact case as to how the movement and what is happening as far as the Indian pharma sector is concerned. May I have first slide, please?
Sanya, is it possible to put the first slide of Mr.
Yes,
Kadre?
Mr. Pradeep. If you could just continue with your, your speech, I think
Okay,
we'll try to put it on the
fine,
tool.
fine.
Sure.
So, given this, Indian pharma sector can be basically divided from the point of view of exports in three basic categories. One will be API, which is active pharmaceuticals manufacturing, along with manufacturing of excipients also. So, Indian API and excipient sector is a major contributor as far as the export is concerned. The second comes is what is called as CRAMS, CRAMS, that is Contract Research and Manufacturing Organizations or manufacturers. Now, CRMS, this is again an important sector, which is mostly wherein the process and the product is developed in India. It is manufactured in India for the benefit of the importer uh, of the product. So the products are mostly assigned by the um, in the current parlance, it will be Capximize who will even provide the products, and Capximizer, that is the Indian manufacturer, will manufacture the product. And the next becomes the formulation or the generic manufacturing sector, wherein generic manufacturing sector basically works it out that they manufacture the product, mostly which are generic products, for the various customers, that is Capximize, who would like to utilize the capacities. In all these three sectors, India has shown tremendous growth, specifically even the last year during last 2 years of pandemic. India has shown very high growth in all the three areas, and these all the three areas contributed largely to the growth of not only the national pharma sector but also contributing to the international world as well. This is the major contribution of Indian pharma sector to the world, to this extent that even in US, more than 30% generic products available are from India. And this growth is in spite of several the procedural hurdles. I won't use the word hurdles specifically, but procedures which are required to be followed by the Indian industry as far as entry to the world's largest market, US, is concerned. There are several fees which are imposed also, like the fees like GADUFA is also introduced. Then plants are required to be approved by the specific authorities in both EU as well as in US, which accounts for the largest pharma export markets from India, and also product registration processes, both for APIs, excipients, as well as formulations. So in spite of this long journey, Indian pharma sector has done exceptionally well as far as contributing to the national exchequer as well as providing most cost-effective pharmaceuticals to the world market. So this sector is going to contribute large to the world market as well as to the Indian market. I think these slides are not the slides. These slides, I think, pertain to Mr. Gaurav.
What we are not able to see it, so I don't know really what is it. But nonetheless, I think Mr. Gadre, firstly, thanks for giving this kind of an overview. The second point that I want to check with you was, the capacity addition, manufacturing capacity addition, various schemes which come up. But realistically, according to you, what really is required in terms of constraints for capacity addition, and at the same time, a platform of our kind which can be a facilitator for this? So, what, according to you, really are the constraints when you want to expand your manufacturing capacity, either in the same country where you are or in the different parts of the world? So, according to you, what really are the constraints?
The biggest constraint which works it out to be for pharma sector is availability of capital, wherein the cost of capital is so very high that in comparison to the cost of capital, if you can utilize the capacity which is unutilized in other market, it works out to be relatively cheaper on long-term basis. In India, basically for API sector, the capacity utilization is to the tune of 40 to 45% only, meaning that these Indian manufacturers are basically capsimizers. They will be able to do lot many processes specifically for capsimizes who are looking for the new capacities in new products and new capacities. One of the area where this is always possible, and this has been one of the largest export sector also from India, will be the intermediates required for API. Now, these intermediates, firstly, the intermediates is started even in early 90s as the major growth area as far as the pharma sector in India is concerned, wherein several US and EU companies, they were looking out for intermediates, which were basically at much higher prices locally. So India became a supplier of these APIs to the large corporations worldwide. And these large corporations started saving a lot. And Indian industry not only started utilizing better capacity, but Indian industry even modernized their plants. Because even for APIs or even intermediates for APIs, there used to be a process required of registration and process of approval. Indian industry adopted to these process very quickly. And today, if you will see the statistics, India is the only country after US to have maximum US FDA approved plants. And any
Wow.
export to US can be undertaken only from a plant which is approved by US FDA. Similar thing holds good as far as even EU market, Japanese market, or even Australian market is concerned. So all these developed countries, they have their own specific requirements as far as how the product can be imported from the from India to these specific countries. So whether it will be filing for the ANDAs or whether it is filing for specific process knowledge in form of various documents, Indian industry has come to a satisfactory level both in EU and US, to the extent that during last 2 years, India is the largest registration of ANDAs. That is, these are the documents which are required to be submitted to US FDA and approved by US FDA for importation of the product in USA. So India is number one today as far as the generic manufacturing and generic supplies of pharmaceutical formulations are concerned in US.
Lovely. Lovely. That's really, really remarkable. And I think one last point that I wanted your views, sir, is the any kind of technology-based platform like this. How do you think it will be useful making the whole manufacturing setup, because eventually the whole global manufacturing setup will need to be positioned in the same form as what we are today talking about the Indian sector. So a tech-based kind of a platform like this, according to you, will it be useful? And if so, how useful this will be?
Mr. Avinash, what I will say, this platform or such type of platform is a basic necessity, I will call it. It's an excellent step because all the capsimizer, they are looking out for somebody who would like to utilize their capacities, and Capximize are looking out for the right partners who will be able to provide them the products. And these Capximizer and Capximize, in your own parlance, if I have to continue to use this terminology, although this terminology is devised by you, but still what I will call it as a seeker and a user, you are bringing them together. And as you are bringing them together on cloud platform, it is really very, very essential step. And both the user and seeker will be very happy to participate in such platform so that both of them will be benefited to a very great extent. So this is a important step as far as the utilization of capacities in India is concerned, and also providing the capacities. So, in addition to the economic value, it is definitely going to have a lot of user value for both the seekers as well as the providers.
Great, Mr. Pradeep. Thank you very much for enlightening all of us in terms of the growth that India is achieving, global markets are looking for. And actually, I would like to ask Mr. Gaurav, because he has had an experience in looking at international markets, international corporates, legal documentation, and the works. So, Gaurav, just the question is, any ease of information and convenience in terms of availability of information in today's parlance, when everybody is short on time, everybody's span of attention is very limited, and the detailed information requirements. So what do you think is relevance of convenience and ease of information in today's world?
Thank you, sir, for your question. And at the very outset, I would like to thank IFCCI and to Capximize for organizing this event and for providing a platform for information and intelligence sharing for the manufacturing capacity on the cloud-based platform. Sir, I would like to answer a question by giving a brief background on what India has achieved post-independence. We've always been used as an economic powerhouse, and now more so with the kind of expertise, manpower, and youth that we have in a country. We are now among the top 5 fastest improving economies in the world, and which is clearly the result of various reforms which are launched under the Make in India campaign, National Policy for Advanced Manufacturing, which has now projected the GDP growth rate at 25% for the financial year 2022. There has indeed been a paradigm shift in the approach towards the governance as the government has unveiled multitude of reforms aimed towards improving the business climate in India. Now, this also includes the ease of doing business and ease of information sharing. I would like to share certain examples with you. So far as ease of information is concerned today, qua the industries who we work with, it is possible to find and conduct a due diligence of any company to the resources which are provided by the government itself, be it their GST details, be it their corporate details. If it's a limited liability partnership or a company which is registered under the Companies Act, you can go on the MCA website, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs website, and extract all the information, not only pertaining to their details of the partners, authorized capital, paid up capital, the charges which are against the company, the loans, etc. All that information is available to the public at large without payment of any cost. Likewise, the IP India policy has made sure that this digitization of trademarks, which has happened on a very rampant basis, and it is possible to ascertain what is the IP which is registered in favor of what company by simply doing the applicant search or the trademark search or the patent search, as the case may be. So, piece of information is something that the government has focused on. And with ease of information also comes transparency, which has been the trust and the core focus of the Indian government. In this recent ease of doing business rankings which are released by the World Bank, although India is at 100th spot, which indicates that there are efforts make India as a manufacturing hub, and I'm sure it will bear fruits. Still, there are few challenges which we need to deal with in order to help India to continue its glorious run. We have come down from 135th spot to 100th spot now, and there's policy for startups and micro, small, and medium enterprises, which is introduced by the Ministry of MSMEs. Various IP, tax, and other incentives which are provided to the Indian manufacturing hubs. Now, in Gujarat also, there is a new special economic zone which is created for the service sector for the first time. Now, such kind of incentives are welcome by the foreign investors and the companies. They are eyeing India as a prime hub to rely on for their manufacturing needs. The government also aims to create more than 100 million new jobs in the sector by 2022, and thanks to the expedited digitization which has happened due to lockdowns and due to the COVID, we have achieved the target of payments and digitization 1 decade earlier than what we were planning. Digital transformation in the data center segment, defense sector, aviation, FMCG industries has also been a standout for India.
Yeah, I agree with you. The pace at which we are moving is really good, and that's where I felt the relevance of reliable information, quick to access information rather than going through plethora of papers. So our objective also here is to give the reliable information at a click of a button to you when you are searching for pan-India options for all the people. Like, I think what you're saying, just to take this point forward, particularly in view of the global pandemic that we have gone through over the last couple of years, I think how far do you think the sourcing security or the manufacturing location being multiple, is it relevant to the global community and large corporates world over? And what's your view on the sourcing security, which is like a global threat? At the same time, it's a great opportunity for a country like us. So your views.
So when you talk about global security, I cannot help myself but draw a comparison here with China. Because in terms of the demography, in terms of population, and in many other aspects, we are compared with China, and we are expected to grow at their pace. Though it is estimated that to be where China is today, it will take about 3 to 4 decades for us to reach where they really are today in terms of its manufacturing facility. But I don't think that we need to emulate that kind of model. It is neither advisable nor desirable for several reasons. I will come on that. But while I come on that, there's one very interesting feature of your model that I would like to highlight. What Capximize is doing here, it's eliminating middlemen, which has been a very big problem. Now, China, if you see, there are several barriers. Despite the tremendous growth that China has achieved, there are several barriers, including the language barrier and some other barriers, where there's always a need of a middleman. Now, what I feel, a point that you have not addressed here, is you will eliminate that middleman, and the seeker and the user, they'll be able to the Capximizer and the Capximize, as you can say, will be able to have a direct contact, which is very important. It is very important. I'll give you some examples here. Let's take this example of apparel sector. So we look at apparel manufacturing. Of course, we look at China, and then we look at Bangladesh, and then we look at India as well for textile manufacturing, for clothing, garments, apparels. So difficulty with both Bangladesh and China that a lot of investors have is a direct contact with the manufacturing unit, a direct contact with the facility, or direct contact with the owners who are running the show. So that is where I think your platform will really bridge the gap, because due to the presence of that middleman, there are various issues which crop up: stock lots, bulk supply, excess lots, excess supplies, and there are issues of parallel imports, there are issues of counterfeit goods. Now, that is something which touches the heart of the issue when it comes to foreign investment. So when there is a more direct communication and direct interaction, I think this is where India has a huge edge, because in China, if we compare, only 7% of the students are able to talk in English, which happens to be the global language for our communication for many countries. While in India, the percentage is much, much higher. So I think this is where we win over China, and it's important to draw this comparison because of the kind of platform that you are offering. But still, issues that we are facing with respect to the supply chain, lack of the state-of-art manufacturing facilities, the logistical issues pertaining to child labor, etc. So these issues, once we are able to eliminate, and we gradually are addressing these issues. And when it comes to these, since I'm giving the example of apparel and the textile sector, another aspect is the environmental issues associated therewith, and that I think we'll take it later when we talk about the reduction of carbon footprint. But that is also an issue which the industries are cautious of. The concern, though, remains with respect to identifying India as not only a manufacturing hub, but also a hub where the IP issues are quite rampant, which is highlighted in the 301 report of the US, which was released just 2 days back. I was going through that report, and there were more than 40 physical markets and more than 30 online marketplaces which were highlighted in India. Though China remains on top, it's far ahead of India when it comes to these IP issues. But I'm sure if we are able to eliminate these issues as well, will be a preferred destination for a lot of foreign investment.
Lovely. You touched a point very, very close to my heart as well, is on the carbon footprint, because I think logistic and movement of goods, if you are manufacturing in location X and where your market is in location Y, I think logistics, not only the cost, but even the emission and the carbon reduction is something that we are looking at seeking, that is make where your market is kind of a concept, and improve the carbon footprints, which are otherwise a big concern for the world at large. So I think you have touched that point very, very importantly. And if you want to elaborate something on that, I'm more than happy. And so go ahead, Gaurav.
So environmental practices is something we need to inculcate in our system. In fact, you'll be surprised when I share with you. So there is this first school of denim, which has recently opened in Himachal Pradesh, where the entire concept is on sustainable garment manufacturing, sustainable denim manufacturing, which leaves zero carbon footprint. So these kind of efforts are being undertaken in India, which I think need to have some sort of platform so that they have a better outreach to the West, and they know what India is capable of and what India is actually doing in terms of the best practices for reducing the carbon emission. Again, I'm helpless, but I have to draw a comparison with China here, because that is where we are competing, and that is where we are we have an edge over. Statistics I would like to just share with you. With respect to the management at the territorial borders, we have been doing fantastically by reducing the dwell time and by facilitating the ease of doing business. Logistical performance index, where China scores a 3.32, India has a 3.17, and we have come up from 2.58 to 3.17, which is a remarkable shift and remarkable progress. China's main activities are primarily still into the electronics and consumer products, which represents 43% of the revenue, which is followed by textile and garments, representing 12% of the revenue. India, on the other hand, is heavily relying on the agriculture manufacturing and then apparel manufacturing, which constitutes the major chunk of its manufacturing and exports. So, we are still in the transformation phase from dominantly an assembly country, where we are assembling to a fully self-contained manufacturing country. So that is something that we are progressing to, and during this progress, there is emphasis and there is a caution to make sure that we are not damaging the environment and leaving significant carbon footprint. That's my brief overview. I have a lot more to share on the IP side or on the legal repercussion side, which may arise out of the use of manufacturing facilities, etc., which I reserve my comments unless I'm specifically asked to address.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gaurav. And yes, of course, the points that differ so far, I think keeping in mind the directives given by Sania, I'm trying to moderate the session in such a way that we are left with the right time and we are concluding within the right time. But having said that, I think just one point is that the sectors that even we are looking at as a country and where we are looking at to grow further and further is, I think most of them you have touched, because Mr. Gadre has touched on pharma, you have touched on textile, electronics, we have touched on specialty chemicals, you touched on, the areas of this kind where there is a substantial amount of manufacturing facilities which are available globally also. I think India right now is in a sweet spot on the basis of whatever comments that one has read, whether they are comments from the US, whether we have read the comments from the EU side. I think people are looking at India as a safe destination to look at manufacturing options. And Gaurav, your point well taken, as well as Mr. Gadre's point, whether it is pertaining to IP, whether it is pertaining to documentation, whether it is pertaining, and we are also trying that as exhaustive information as possible is provided by the platform to the seekers as well as to the givers. And we are hopeful that the world over players who are looking at multiple manufacturing options will be able to use this information, this deployed capital. You can call it as, circular economy, utilizing the resources to the full, or you want to call it from whichever way. But yes, we feel that the deployed capital should be utilized fully to improve the ROI. No business is done without the consideration of ROI. And I think for anybody to have a cost competitiveness is only and only to upping your capacity utilization and getting the marginal costing for increased production. So I think, Sania, we are in time for completing the panel session, if I may say so. And if you want to take over, please take over.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Bapat. I think it was a very valuable and very interesting panel discussion that we've had just now. I think I just would like to ask the participants, in case they have any questions or any queries for our panel. You can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, Mr. Bapat, I think we have received one question from one of the participant, and it says that would the cloud-based technology platform play a pivotal role in facilitating enterprises integration into broader industrial supply chain? So, if anybody would like to take up this question.
Yeah, if I can say so, I have my colleague here who is my chief on the technology side. I think he will be an apt person to give an answer. And just I wanted to add only one point. Other than the security aspect, we are also maintaining the confidentiality aspect that any and every member on our platform gets a 12-digit UID. So there is no disclosure other than his UID as his identity all through. So now I'm introducing Maidev, who is our CTO. He can answer the question pertaining to the cloud issue that one of the participants has raised.
So to me, hi all, everybody. Nice talking to you. I'm Uday. And to brief you on what cloud helps me as a CTO is, 24/7 availability. I think that's one of the features we already expressed. I mean, it holds good for everybody of us for that matter. I can just, enable the server here in Mumbai and in the US within a very short span of time. You can just replicate stuff within very short time. It's highly scalable. Okay, and then the security factors also critical, which are taken care of inbuilt into the setup. Of course, we need to configure it accordingly, but these are the very two key points. One is the scalability, one is the availability, and third is the security, of course, which is the most important. These are easily enabled on the cloud, and it is the game changer in the entire process to make the platform available to the world. That's a brief answer from me.
Yep, Sania.
Would you like to have any clarification on the same?
Yes, I think we'll move on to another question. I think we have enough time to do that. The next question is, in what other ways can the data collected through the cloud-based system technology platform help the manufacturers? If you could just tell us briefly.
Okay, so just a small note. There are a couple of things in the context of the platform per se. One is people register. Let's say they are in India as Capximizers, being available and the speed scalability, the time required for them to register themselves or enroll themselves is maybe around 50 to 20 minutes, not more than that. I mean, that's because the technology is enabling it. One. Second, look at from a manufacturing perspective per se. For each of the manufacturers, tomorrow they can integrate their data from the local manufacturing systems onto the cloud and be available globally for various reasons. For maybe supply chain, it may be a digital twin, which for sharing information, can be for a integrated planning engine across the globe in the process. So the value of real-time data availability is huge. It's about leveraging that data for business purposes. I'm just talking specifically about manufacturing setups today, but getting the infrastructure today in place overnight and being able to leverage the data and the speed and the scalability for business benefits impacts the entire manufacturing business a lot. What they just have to ensure that the last mile connectivity wherever they are needs to be in place. I know that this is always a challenge, but cloud works just perfect for any manufacturing setup per se.
Okay, thank you. I think in case we don't have any more questions, can I have just last few lines from each one of you, just for the conclusion remarks, starting from Mr. Gogia. Yeah.
Thanks, Raya. So it's a very interesting based platform which is being introduced. We hope there are more such platforms which enable, and there is more availability and awareness on such platforms, because the issue which touches the heart of this discussion is the bridging the gap between the seeker and the giver. So there is actually a huge potential which is untapped, unutilized, and needs to be exploited to its fullest potential. Once we are able to do that, we are heading towards more progress in terms of an economy as a whole. There is no dearth of labor, raw material, or machinery. Like the 4 M's, as we say, we used to do in school. We have all the 4 M's which are requisite for the success and for the growth. It is only about enabling the micro, small, and medium enterprises to have an outreach to the seekers, that this gap can be bridged in an easy and effective manner.
Thank you, Mr. Gogia. Over to you, Mr. Gadre.
I'm in this pharma industry for over last 38 years. And although all the manufacturers are looking out for who is willing to buy, there was no platform which was available. And this Capximize is the platform which is certainly going to help the Indian industry as well as world industry to utilize the capacities created and the capacities required, both for the benefit of each other as well as for the benefit of world by reducing the carbon footprint, because that has been the objective of everybody over the world today, and specifically in our country, where we are having ambitious targets to meet these international requirements. So this platform is certainly going to help both the world as well as for the Indian manufacturers.
Thank you, Mr. Gadre. Over to you, Mr. Bapat, for your final views.
Yeah, thanks, Sania. And I think, as I said, that the origin or as the thought process of this platform is purely, again, I repeat, is collaborate, coexist, and co-elevate your ROIs. Because I think what is really required is, as Gaurav mentioned, the visibility, reliability, ease of convenience of information, and at the same time, as he made a very valid point in between, is that elimination of the middleman and connecting the seeker and the giver together on the cloud-based platform. And I think that we are hopeful that we are able to reach out to the world at large and try and convert the manufacturing capacity into a virtual platform where you can produce what you like in which territory of the world you like at a click of a button, so you conserve your capital, conserve your time, and improve your ROI. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Mr. Bapat. I think we are right on time to actually conclude this webinar. I hope all the participants found it useful and insightful. We thank Mr. Avinash Bapat for his commendable efforts and to share his views to our IFCCI members and through this platform itself. Thank you, Mr. Gaurav Gogia and Mr. Pradeep Gadre, for joining us and sharing your views on this topic. And last but not the least, to all the participants as well, to take out time and to join us for this webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sania, and thank you, the Chamber.
Thank you. You're welcome.